Not DC.
You said a dentist?
Okay, we're live. Well, welcome everybody to Breaking the Silence. You have a voice. We are so excited about having you on the show today. I am your host, Lady V, and we have our host, Dr. Yvonne Bennett, on the show today. How are you, Dr. Bennett?
I am your host, Lady V, and we have
Are you having a great week?
having a real fantastic week.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I know we're almost ready for the holidays.
We
So,
are.
yeah, the holidays. It's hard to believe that Thanksgiving is here. It's like, wow, this year went by so
Real fast. Real
fast.
Thanksgiving is here.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this year went by. Now, do you hear that?
Yes, we do.
Yes. Well, we also have Pastor Melanie Butler. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good, good. Great week. Ready for the
Yeah,
holidays? Doing
we
anything special?
went to New York. We saw our goddaughter. She's a rockette. So the
They didn't
first
invite
show
me.
was Friday and it was phenomenal. And they have about I want to say it's like six black young ladies, and she is like one of the tallest one, and she is the darkest one, and she was front and
That's
center.
awesome.
But it was, when I say the show was beautiful, oh my God, it
Wow.
was wonderful.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
They didn't invite me.
And we have, last but not least, Dr. Isaac Davis. How are you this evening?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Excuse the attire. I just got off the bike. I had a dentist appointment in DC, and I was like, I can make it back home before the show. I just walked in the house.
Oh, I definitely
So,
understand.
but the attire is it is fitting because Thursday is our Veterans Day. So hey,
Yeah, yeah. And we
yes,
want to give, now that you said Veterans Day, we want to give a big, big shout out to all of our veterans and say thank you, thank you, thank you for
Mhm.
serving our country. We surely, surely appreciate everything that
You're
you've
welcome.
done. And for those who have lost their loved ones in the crossfire, we will always, always keep you in our prayers. So thank you
Yes,
again.
yes.
But this is going to be an exciting topic. Last week we talked about fashion. I thought about something we had said with the youth and how
Hmm.
things have kind of changed over the years. We were kind of taught that uh, girls wore pink, boys wore blue. Um, certain fashion was for the boys and certain fashion
Hmm.
was for the girls. And um, it seems like over these last, especially 10 years, the fashion has kind of changed. You see more of your boys with pink on, and you see your girls with polos and things of that nature. So we kind of want to talk about it because we're getting a lot of feedback on the mixture of gender dressing and um, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it a crossover? If you see a woman and she has on a baseball cap and she's not dolled up, does that make her um, a, a lesbian? If you see a man and he has on pink and he's not in blue, does that make him gay? So we want to talk
Hmm.
about it because I think we're getting a lot of feedback and opinions. So we're going to open up the floor and we're going to talk about it today. And we welcome your comments. We want to welcome our viewers on the show and our Caribbean jammers. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So what do you think about it, Dr. Isaac? We'll let you just
Mm.
start us off.
You know, I've never ever had an issue with the um, LGBTQ um, AI community. Um, because their sexuality is their sexuality. Um, I always had an issue with the need to voice their sexuality. being heterosexual, we don't go around screaming that we're heterosexual. We don't go out. We don't go around finding a need to say that, hey, we are this. That's the part of it that I've had an issue with, because what you do sexually, that's your business. That's in your bedroom. Um, and that's in the privacy of yourself. Um, Whatever you choose to do when it comes to public display of affection, that's your choice. But I've never understood the need to be voiceful in the essence of, I am this and you need to pay attention to me. That's the way that I receive it. Um, I know I have family members that are gay. I know several people that are gay. Some of them are great friends, and we get to laugh, we get to joke. But when it comes to understanding their decision, that's their business. It's not mine. You muted.
I kind of had to agree with you on that because what I could never understand is, and it's a point that you made, when you talk about heterosexuals, you know, um, we don't publicize who we are. We don't get a holiday. We don't get a
Mhm,
parade. We don't get any of that. We are who we are, and that's it. But
mhm,
when you talk about what I never understood is, and you're so right. When you talk about whatever you choose to do in your private time, that's your privacy.
mhm,
That is whether I agree with it or anybody else agrees with it, that's still your privacy.
mhm,
But when I feel like I'm being forced to accept something
mhm,
because now it's a public display,
mhm,
I feel that that's where I think we have a problem because it's now being put out there and we saw the Dave Chappelle show, and it
mhm.
was something that he had said. It was called Closer, and he
Closure.
was talking to
I'm
Closer,
sorry. The closer.
the closer,
Yes.
and so you know he was talking about the part of the restroom. I wanted to
Mhm,
focus in on that. You know,
mhm,
women's restroom is women's restroom, and
mhm,
men's restroom is men's restroom.
mhm,
Now, the argument was, and I know that in DC, and even in some other states, you
mhm.
have it now where both men and women can
Can
use the
share the
same
same bathroom.
restroom, and I
Yes.
feel that's wrong. I feel that whatever your gender was that you were born in, you should go to that restroom, and I should not have to it just like you don't want us to criticize, judge, or whatever. Don't invade on my on what I feel is safe for me as well. And I feel
Mhm,
that when I take my grandson to the restroom, I'm teaching him that you go to the boys' room. I'm
mhm,
teaching my granddaughter or my daughter, whatever our little ones are, boys go to the boys' restroom and girls go to the girls' restroom. And when they go to the restroom, they should see the same.
mhm,
So I feel like, it's so many things now that whereas before, and I'm not going to say don't ask, don't tell, but it just seems like now we're being imposed on where we don't have a choice. So, I mean, what do y'all think?
No, you're absolutely right. We don't have a choice. And this is funny because you can be in a relationship with a man 10, 20 years in a relationship with him. You cannot put him on your insurance policy. He cannot have medical benefits. He can't have the same benefits as if you all were married. But then you can take same sex and they have rights. To me, that's unfair. How is it that they have rights and they're not even married, but then here it is, you have a heterosexual relationship and they don't have any rights or benefits.
Well, I differ with you on that one. This is where I differ on that. I feel that everybody is owed equal rights and equality in everything.
But
I
that's not
believe,
equality.
and meaning this is that we may not, because we're heterosexual, so we may not agree with their relationship. But if this is the person that they've been living with for 20 plus years and they've done everything with, the person is on their bank account. They got a house together, whatever it is. They've been living, we're gonna say, a married life. They've been living a married life for 20 years. I feel that they do deserve that equality because because for years a homosexual couple could not um, that they could not receive the insurance on the other that died for years. And to me, that was unfair. That's the person that they chose to love. And that's where that I believe equally, and it's no different than the women rights when how women are still fighting for equal pay. Still got a long way to go, but it's the same thing. The equality, everyone should be treated equally, and the rights should be equal. That I do agree with.
That's not what I'm saying. What I
Okay.
said was you have a heterosexual couple who don't have the same rights as a same sex couple. They don't have the same rights, they don't have the same benefits.
If I'm not mistaken, they do have to be married before they receive the benefits. Now they just can't be living together. Unless they in one of those states that has a common law. There are states that do have the common law that after X amount of years, um, that the person that you've been living with has the same rights to every single thing that you have. But those are those states, and I think that is state specific.
Maybe it is. I have not looked into, but I know that when it first came out, they had more rights than a
Mhm.
heterosexual couple did.
Now,
That's what I'm talking about.
gotcha. Now I
So
do.
when you talk about, okay, and I hear what both of you are saying when you talk about rights. Let's go back to the, because we're talking about the gender dress. So why do we feel as though how's your sexual preference tied into to the dressing? Why is there such a crossover?
I'm in a diversity class for my profession currently. I have one more class. Next week is my final class, and I started back in February. Started in February, and next week is the last class. And this is how that it was explained to me by the ones that are in that community. Is that how do you feel being knowing that you're different and everybody else around you is not like you? But in their mind is that what they believe of what they think is right is opposite of what we think is right. I've never associated colors with I've never associated colors with the sex of, because I like pink. I've been wearing pink ever since I was a kid. Um, and if we want to say that pink was and that was or is a girl's color, then I've been wearing pink since I was a kid because I like the color pink. There are some pastel colors that I like that I actually wear today, but I know that I am not homosexual.
Okay. Okay. So when you look at today's trend, because now you have the guys wearing, I think we've gone beyond the colors. we,
Yes, we're
we,
gonna
we
be up
got the guys
because guys
wearing
wearing dresses
shirts
now.
and so where are we at with this? Because okay, we work on the workforce. Man comes in, he has on the skirt. What do we do? You know, we
You can't say nothing.
It all depends on that company and the company's policy.
That's right.
And you're absolutely right. And one thing talking about that, and I think about something that David Chappelle said on the show. He said that when you go after one, it's like you going after all of them.
Yes.
Because when you do say something about that, they're all gonna come in on you or against you, you know, to defend one another. But it's because now here it is. I'm getting ready to do the separation. Okay. So we know what the Bible says. Okay. According to what the Bible says, right? God created male, female. Okay. He created Adam and Eve. Then we have where this is the laws of the land. And because of what they put in motion, there are some places that's discrimination. And so if it is somebody who is on the workforce who actually comes, that's not our place to do any correction or correcting. All we can do at that time is love that person exactly where they are at. As and I'm speaking to believers, and then even those who may not be a believer, who may be against it. But all we can do is love people where they are. And as a believer, it's our responsibility to love them and take that thing to God in prayer. Don't bash a person, but love them, because we see it all the time. I will never ever forget in California, I'm going to say really the first time we actually saw it,
We was at Disneyland.
going with the Davis family, and we went to
Disneyland. And it was Pride Day.
Disneyland, and didn't know it was gay pride. And Betty knew it was gay pride, but she didn't tell us. And I did not want my children exposed to that. And we went there, and Jacob had on a red shirt. And then we're looking around, and it's like, oh, that person got on a red shirt. That person got on a red shirt. And we started seeing all these people in red. We're like, what in the world is going on? And then we actually saw on the shirt, I want to say it was the 10th annual Gay Pride. And so Pastor went in, and he was like, okay, let me go run into the park. Let me get a shirt for my child so that we can change out of this color. Because you wore red in support of it. And it's not something that we support, because we are believers and we're going by according to what the word of God says. But it was something to see. And that was really the first time that I actually saw same sex acting as a couple. Men with men, women with women hugged up, and then they had their family. And so it was definitely an experience. And then when we moved here and I went to Pentagon City Mall, and that's when I started seeing males dressed like a female and their nails done, and they had on the high heels and the purses. It was a shock to me at first. And then I was like, oh, wow. But, it's nothing. Like I said, the only thing that I could do, because I see where things have opened up and I see how the enemy has come in. But it's what has been put out from our president. Well, our previous president.
See, sometimes, I'm going to put it out there. Sometimes we, though, have to have, it appears that we have a double standard, because when Medea came out, okay, now I'm going to say it.
No, that's good.
You have this man, and he's dressed as a woman. And even in my day when I was growing up, I don't know, I know my mom remembers this. I don't know if you guys remember Flip Wilson, but when he used to play Geraldine, and we were hee ha ha. Nobody said why Flip got on that dress. Why is he because really that was like the first the first, I guess, role play or cross dress. Medea came out big, and how many people, Christian people, support Tyler Perry? We support this man. We have gone to see his movies.
His
We have
plays.
we have let our kids see his movies, but nobody, it never dawned on anybody. Tyler's a man dressed as a woman. So now when we talk about even fashion, back then we had Parliament, we had all of these different, because they were kind of dressed out there. You know, to me, we just
Parliament
went
was
back.
out there.
Bootsy
Bootsy was
Collins.
he's still out there.
And
Boosie's
all
still
these
out there.
people were free to be them. But
Yes.
now we take the same fashion today and we relate it to the LGBT community. So where do we, because it appears when we condone one thing and we okay with one thing, we come down on the other. You know, it's
Okay.
either so. And I'm saying this because we seem to be so bothered by the LGBT community. We do, but yet we watch the shows.
Yeah, but I don't think that anybody has ever had an issue with the cross dressing when it came to acting, when it came to your profession, because we saw it as a profession. Um, it's no different. Okay, when a actor goes to work, that's they are in the role of their profession. They are in their profession when they go whenever they go to that movie studio. They are actively in their profession. When a comedian comes to stage, I'm sorry. When a comedian comes to stage and they do their stand up, that's their studio. Why is it that actors are allowed to be in their profession, in their role, and are never criticized? But when a comedian is in their studio on stage, they are criticized by telling jokes. Um, I that's the double edged sword that I see in that, and that's the double mindedness. Um, One thing that since we mentioned Dave Chappelle, there was a couple of things that he said that I totally agree with. But one of the things that was profound to me is when he said, "I want to know who is the community's organizers," and he said because you have accomplished in decades that Black folks haven't accomplished in centuries,
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
and
Which it is
And
true.
and and
and
and,
it's true.
and I think that it's because, and it's fair to say that the uniting of who they are,
Hmm.
because it's the unity, and
Hmm.
that's with anything when it comes to us. We just not unified. We just not. I don't care how you want to look at it. We as a people are not. We have not gotten like that. You know,
But
whereas
why? Why?
when why?
You
Because
you
we can't
you
get along.
no, it's
We
not that. You have to go back in the history. Every single time blacks have come together to unify, there's always been a mass there's been a mass destruction of that unity
Okay. But at the
every
same
time.
time, when you talk about, okay, let's go back to, and then I'm going to get to this question. When you talk about, um, the unifying, yeah, when homosexuality first came out, they fought hard to be accepted. We don't fight hard to be accepted. We tear down, they build up. They decided, now whether we agree with how they did it, they decided
The difference.
we want to be accepted. We
The
want to
difference.
be accepted. And they're going to come, and they came and they kept pushing, they kept pushing, they kept pushing.
Mhm.
And finally, what happened? They got what they wanted. We don't do that.
You
We
know,
don't, we, every single thing with our people, is
Let's
a
actually
tip.
Right.
Even when we're trying to come against something that is for,
right.
let's talk about Black
Okay.
Lives Matter.
Okay. So
Black Lives Matter, but everything we do is we come and we tear down. We tear down our community. We tear
okay.
down
But
each
look at
other.
this. Look at this. The word says that when the um is when everyone was of one voice. When they were at the tower
Of Babel.
of Babel, everybody was of one voice. Everybody was of one mind. That scripture is so powerful because God said that nothing would be impossible for them to do.
Right.
The community is when they come out and unify, they all speak the same thing.
Yeah.
They all speak the same thing.
They're
No one,
united.
no one deviates from what the mission is. This is the mission. No one deviates from that.
Right.
What we have our issue is that we can't even come to agreement with what we are going for, and it always happens. Some knucklehead deviates away from what the plan is.
Right.
That is
That is
true.
the reason why that they are able to accomplish what they are accomplishing. Because remember, the word reigns over the just and the unjust. So just because that we read it and we are the Christians, we supposed to be the just. Just because we read it and we say all day we should be unified in what we do, but we don't.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
want to
we,
say something when you're
go
done.
ahead.
No, when you're done.
Go,
When you're done.
go ahead.
I want to go back a little bit where we talked about discrimination if a person came into a place of business and the gentleman, a male, is dressed up as a female. And it has been said we can't discriminate. Okay, now, what if you are the CEO of that company and a person comes in, you've hired that person, and that person comes in dressed up as a female and you don't want to discriminate, you don't say anything. Now, you as the CEO, but you're also the pastor of a church, and not realizing that this person that you hired to be your musician, you didn't know what he was, and now he comes, and here he comes with just flaming, nails, everything. What do you do?
Well,
Do
the
do
church
you?
has a. This is where I believe where that the church has a responsibility.
Mhm.
The church has a responsibility to maintain their standards,
Right.
no matter what it is, and that's where the word that we've been teaching is that in that case I rather obey God than man.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
and that's true.
so
That's true. That's true.
so,
Dr.
but
Isaac, that's very true.
mhm,
But we are being ostracized in
That's
church.
true.
We are
true.
being ostracized for discriminating
Yes, that
because
is
we
true.
won't allow a person that is a transgender to be a musician or
Yeah,
so forth. And so we're turning
okay.
them away, and they are taking pastors to court.
Well,
So
see, this is the thing.
hold on,
This is the
hold on,
thing
bro. Hold
where
on,
I
bro.
think that what happens is when you talk about ministry is just like any other, it's like a business.
Correct.
So you have a responsibility to have policies in place.
Mhm.
There
Now,
you go.
if your policies in place says we do not accept
Right.
whatever you want
That
to put in your
lifestyle.
policies, lifestyles, whatever, you have a right as a
Right.
nonprofit organization
Right.
to say that.
Mhm.
But companies, it's okay. We take
Bingo.
for instance, Chick-fil-A.
There you go. I was just about to say that.
We don't open on Sunday.
Right.
And they
Right.
They have a
refuse
right.
to.
They have a right to say
That's right.
they
Right.
don't open on Sunday, and there's nothing that we can do about it. I don't care how long the
And they have
line
a
is
standard
on Saturday.
of dress that you must adhere by.
Right.
Right, and they have a dress code. It's the same thing. You have a right to
Mhm.
say it, no different than the LGBT.
Right.
They have certain rights. If their name and title, you can call them lesbian, you can call them gay, you
Or
can
you can
call
talk about
them
their
queer,
pronouns.
you can call them any of those pronouns, but you cannot call them outside of that. if you call them outside of that, you have now discriminated against them.
Right.
But it's the
Yes.
same thing.
So-
You have a right to set
So Vaughn,
the standard.
so this is what I'm saying about the standard. The church has a standard, and that standard and the standard barrier is God. God gave the church the standard.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
I'm not saying that we're not accepting you, and I'm not saying that
Say
you
it.
can't do this. There are certain roles in the church that you cannot hold, that you cannot do. And I do know,
Bingo.
of homosexual couples, transgender people that are members of ministry, and they do serve in that ministry, but they serve in those areas that they are allowed to serve, but they're not in leadership because the fact that the leadership has a standard. This is where we uphold the word of God that we believe in, that we say that we live in, that we believe. This is the word of God, and the word of God is the standard for the church. We are not ostracizing them into coming and to be a part of the ministry. Yes, you can come because also the word says to love them regardless. You know, and also the word says that everybody is that that there's no one that's without sin. So they're just in the Christian eyesight, it's a person that's living in sin. Watch this.
Bingo.
The
Right.
difference
Right.
is this is the difference. Their sin we can see,
Right.
but but those heterosexuals
You
that's
can't
in
see their
sin, you
sins.
can't see they sin.
Right. Right. And
That's
you know what
the that's
amazes
that's the difference. So
it
so just
amazes me. Go ahead, Isaac.
so regardless of who the person is, the word tells us to love them
That's
Yes.
regardless,
right.
because that's how God is going to judge us.
That's
He's
right.
going to judge us by
That's right.
our heart.
That's right.
So we have to love them regardless.
Right. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this, but it amazes me how things have shifted. But years ago, I worked on Wall Street during that time. This was the time before women were allowed to wear pants.
Correct.
And when you wore pants, you started out, you had to wear a pantsuit.
Mhm.
You had to have your bottom covered. You could not wear jeans or anything like that. Companies set that precedent. They said you cannot wear pants here. Absolutely. I don't care what position you're holding, don't wear pants because that's our policy. So at a place of employment, they still have that right.
That's
They
true.
still have that right. They can set it in their
That's true.
bylaws, in their clause. They can say, if you are a male, then you must dress as a male dresses according to this. You wear pants, you wear a shirt, so forth and so on. You have a right to say that as a CEO, and that law still holds today.
That is
Right.
that is true.
As long as it's in policy. See, the thing
Yes,
is, you
exactly.
it cannot not be in policy.
Right.
Then when they come, you want
Right.
to change
No,
the
you
policy.
have to have it written.
Mhm.
You have to have it written down. You have to have it written.
I
Absolutely.
want to go back to something though that
Real quick, I'm sorry. There was a question that was asked about if you had a child
Yeah.
that was
You want to
gay
get to
or
that question, Lady D.
transgender. Correct.
Okay, so for me, it's no different than the policies that we're talking about. Your rules in your house is your rules in your house, whether it pertains to gender, cross-dressing, weed, whatever. In my house, you're gonna do what I tell you to do.
Mhm.
Now, I can't tell you what to do when you go outside of the house because what I don't know, I don't know. But because I would have preferred my children not sleep around and do all of the things that I wanted them to do.
Mhm.
But you and I know that we don't have a complete control over that. What I do have control over is if you're in my house.
That's right.
So if you are my son and I gave birth to you and I gave birth to a boy, you must dress like a boy. If I gave birth to you and you are a girl, you must dress like a girl. Now, when you become an adult, am I going to say that when you come to my home, you cannot wear whatever your attire is? For me, I'm not going to say that because I'm going to love you regardless. But when you in my home, my little sons wasn't gonna walk around with fingernail polish, nail and eye makeup and all that. We're not doing that as a minor. So I believe that once they become grown adults, then this is where I love you, I respect you. I don't have to like what you do because there's a lot of things that our adult children do that we don't like, but we don't just
That's
own
true.
them.
That's
So
true.
there's a difference. But I wanted to add something that goes along with that. You know, a lot of times, and we play the emphasis on the visual sin versus the what's not seen. But I want to say that God sees everything. Okay. So whether I can see it or not, he sees it. Because when you talk about, you have some people that you won't know that they are of LGBT, just like you have some people you don't know if they fornicate. You have some people you don't know if they steal. But God knows everything.
Everything.
And that is the main thing. He sees what we're doing. A lot of times we come down on certain sins when we ought to be saying God sees everything. He sees what you're doing, whether you think that you want to pick on just these particular people because it is a visual. He sees what you're doing. He sees when you gossip. He sees when you backbite. He sees because
When you lie.
we pick on when you lie. We pick on that one thing, but we have to understand that God sees the whole thing. So when we talk about what's visual versus what's not visual, yeah, I respect all people. Whatever your choices are, whatever you do, I'm going to respect that, because if you come into a company and I hired you, I didn't hire you based off of your gender or who you sleep with. I hired you because I want to trust that you're going to come in and you're going to do
You're going to be an asset to the company.
And until you prove me wrong, I'm going to continue to support you as an employee. And that's where we have to educate people. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to our children, we need to educate them on respect, because their teachers may be of different, but this is the way of the world today. Unfortunately, I work in the school with children, and we teach a whole lot of stuff that we didn't learn when we were growing up. So we have to educate them to respect their friends' parents. What do you do if your child has a friend that has same-sex parents? You're not going to let them have that friend. What do you do if when your child sees that Bobby has two mommies, or Bobby has? It is our responsibility to educate our children so that they're not blindsided by.
But sis, now in our today's society, our children know it before we do sometimes.
Exactly.
Because everything. Let me answer this our question. I have one of my children is bi. So because one of my children is bi, when I was told, I was like, really? So what made you so what caused that decision? And the answer that I got was just like, I was like, okay, wow, I never
Not
thought
fluid,
that.
not fluid.
Right. So
Fluid or bi?
bi.
Okay.
So I was completely shocked by the answer that I received. Um, and then I was asked the question, how did I feel about it? I said, that's your life. I said, you are an adult. I may not agree with it, but that's your life. I'm still gonna love you regardless.
Yeah.
You have
It's
to love
true.
them.
I mean, the only thing we can do as parents, because all of us on this forum are saved. The only thing that we can do is train up our children in the way that they should go. That's all we can do. Tell them what the word of God says, because ultimately your child is going to make their own decision.
Right.
And something that I'm going to echo that you all were saying is that we don't love the sin, but we love them.
Yeah.
And all we can do is whatever choices our children choose to make. And like we said, we don't all agree with the choices that they make, but it is our responsibility as parents is to love them and to pray for them. And my prayer, like for my children, is God open up their eyes that they will see. And
Yeah.
then I'm always
Yeah.
saying, God, surround them with God fearing, saved, God fearing people in their life. That's
Yeah.
something else that I also pray for, because you got to, just because you say, we, and that's why we teach to be specific in our prayers. But as parents, it's our responsibility to love them. Like I said, train them up in the way that they should go. It's ultimately their decision, and that's
And
it.
you can't change that decision. But I want to go back to something Dr. Isaac said. He said they want to voice who they are. They want to make a statement. In other words, if we have a child that has gone in that direction, by all means, we know we have to love them. We have to pray with them. We can't turn our back on them, but we do have to let them know. I'm speaking about an adult right now. They have to know that you will have respect for me.
Bingo.
You want me to be respectful for who you are and what you are, and I have no problem with that. But when it comes to me, for instance, if you want to come to my home, you're welcome. As an adult, you are welcome. But when it comes to bringing your partner, that's where I can draw the line. I can say that's not going to happen. If I choose not to, I feel I have the right to say that.
Yes,
But
I
a lot of
definitely agree with
parents
that.
are not, in agreement with that. They just open the door, they have fun, they laugh with them, and you can't be two people. You either stand up for it, or you stand out with it. You're either with it or you're for it, and you can do it in such a Christian way until people don't, they won't think that you're condemning, because we're not to condemn and not to judge, but we are to have respect. Because I have a situation like that with a client, and that's what I said to her. She had that problem, the same question that this person asked. I don't know whether it was they were talking about a young child or an older child, but her son wanted to bring his mate to the house and stay the night, and she said, I can't do that because I am a Christian and I don't want to be one to say that I'm condoning that. She had a company and so forth and so on. So I say that just like they have a right, and they do have a right, you can't take away a person's rights, but I'm not going to allow anybody to take away mine either.
I was asked to officiate a same-sex marriage, and I told
Yeah,
him no. And I told him no. I said, look, I respect you.
yeah,
I
right.
respect your wishes. I'm honored that you asked me, but my belief system and what I believe in, my values of what I believe in, don't coincide with those values, and I cannot do that.
Right, right.
So
So where do we draw the line? Keeping that.
So
I guess my thoughts are, when you talk about, and I totally agree, we have a right to what we accept and what we don't. I think that what confuses especially our young children, our young people, our adult people, because they say it. If we are so offended then by what they do, and we're so adamant that it's wrong, how is it that we're able to watch movies, shows? We're not offended by that. And that's always been my question, because when I was growing up, we would say, okay, let's take cussing for instance. I'm offended if you cuss.
Mhm.
But I'm not offended if I'm watching a
Watching a
movie.
movie and they're cussing.
I'm offended
No,
by hip hop music, but
I
I'm not offended if the hip hop music is playing on the show.
Double standard.
I'm offended
Double
by
standard. It's true.
homosexuality, but I'm not offended by the two men that's making whoopee.
well, let me say
on the
this.
TV.
Hey,
So
That's a
when,
good point, Lady B.
so when we say
Mhm.
that we are quote unquote so offended
Mhm.
by whatever we say we're offended by, what their problem is we're offended when they're physically doing it in our presence.
Mm.
Why
yeah.
are we not offended and we're just offended? Because
Can
that's
I?
where they get offended.
Um, I am not able to watch any scene
Correct.
that has a homosexual sexual act
Correct.
in it. I'll be very honest with you. I
Turn it
literally
off.
close my eyes or I
Mhm.
turn my head,
Turn it off. Yeah.
no matter how good it is.
Exactly. Me
I
too.
I at this point right now in my life, at this point in my life right now,
Mhm.
I have yet to accept watching a scene where it's the same sex. That's
Correct.
Yeah.
um and I do understand this. This is the understanding when you talk about equality. I do understand that everybody deserves to work.
Mhm.
Everybody deserves to work. They deserve to act in their profession if they are an actor or whatever it is. I believe that the equality that's the equality side of it. And as an employer, it's wrong for me to discriminate against that. So I can hire you because I'm hiring you for your talent and
Correct.
for what you can do for the business that I am doing. That's what I didn't hire you for your sexuality. So
Correct.
and when you see it in actual Hollywood, I understand the equality. Everybody deserves to work. It's no different than somebody that has a disability that they go and apply for one of those roles, and I'm not apply, but they go and audition for one of those roles, and they are denied because of their disability. That's wrong, and that's where that I agree with equality. Everybody deserves to be, to have the same opportunities. Is
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know.
yes, it's
But
available.
that's a good point. That's a good point, Lady D, that you brought out because that's what you call double standards. But I
Mhm.
agree with Dr. Isaac. There's certain movies that you watch or certain plays or whatever. You do have to turn your eyes away from it. Now, some of it you never expected it to happen, and some of it you expected to happen because it's like the series with the Oval, for instance. I mean, that's a wild series, but you
Yes,
know
it
what's
is.
going on in there. I mean, it's obvious. But I just think that we do have to know that we have to love no matter what.
No matter
We have
what.
to love so people will see the love coming
Bingo.
in and through us
Hmm.
because all of us have sinned and come short of the glory of
Hmm.
God. It's
Hmm.
none of us, I don't care. Like Pastor Melanie said, all of us on this forum, we're saved. But we weren't always saved.
Correct.
And none of us are squeaky clean right now. Some of us still have some junk in our trunk that we need to unload. If the truth be told, we just have to know what it is, face it, and deal with it. And
Correct.
that's
Yes.
from the top to the bottom.
Yes.
And it's just
Mm.
true. So we don't have
Yes.
a right to point fingers. I said I was under a pastor, and he used to say this all the time. He only preached one scripture: lay aside the weight and the sin that so easily beset you. He preached that message every Wednesday and every Sunday. But he said this: when you point the finger, there's things coming
Three.
back to
That's
you.
right.
And
Yeah.
I learned that a long time ago. We don't have a right to point fingers at anyone, just like we don't have a right to put anybody down unless we don't
Hmm.
look down to pick them up.
Hmm.
So, I just love people. I love people for who they are. And it
Yes.
just doesn't matter because I deal with people in all walks of life. And
Yes.
all I can say is I thank God that I'm on the other side.
Yes.
So I don't put anybody down. Those people out there with the signs, God bless you, help me. I used to say, go get a job. I don't do that anymore. I roll my window down and I give them something, because you know what? That could be me. And I
Yes.
would want somebody to roll a window down and give me
Yes.
$5, 15 cents, or whatever.
Yes.
Because our part is not to judge why they're out there.
Right.
Our
Mhm.
job is to, it's just like the lesbians, the homosexuals. Our job is not to condemn them, to find out, why are they doing this? They must be crazy. They did this. No, 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 no. Our responsibility is to let our light so shine so they can see Christ in and through us. We can't condemn. I refuse to do that.
Yes.
I just refuse.
Since we mentioned the closer, um, one thing that I have to agree with what Dave Chappelle said as well. Why is it that when we say something against that community, that all hell breaks loose? Um,
Because they are unified.
why is it?
Yeah.
You know, this is the ironic. This is the ironic thing to me. I couldn't even count the many times, the amount of times that Dave Chappelle said the N word. He said it so many times. It was just, it's no different than some. When I hear Dave Chappelle and he says the N word, it's like his trademark, like Samuel L. Jackson's trademark is to say MF. But no one said anything negative about the amount of times that he said the N word.
And they're not
So,
going to, because
and
it's not,
and they're
because
not going
here's
to.
the thing. They're
So
not gonna, they're not,
so
we're not bothered
right,
when
right.
they use
So
the N word. We're not bothered when they use the B word. We're not bothered by a lot of things that we really should be bothered by.
Father by yes. So why is it that when jokes are made about everybody collectively, a comedian, we have known, especially our generation, we have known comedians to always be able to walk the line and to talk about any and everything.
Correct.
That
That's the
is their
comedian's job.
that's the comedian's job. They take everyday stuff and make it humor. And
Mhm.
and really they say some of the stuff that we really be wanting to say, but we just don't say it too. Um, but it's always been that. Even in my diversity class, I said this. We have gotten to a point in our society today that we have become so sensitive that we can no longer have fun.
Very sensitive.
But okay, but here's the thing. Fun and making fun
It's two
is two
different things.
different things.
Mhm.
Because when you talk about, and I'm not saying just the LGBT, I'm talking about people overall. People do get offended by certain things that people say. Like, I just went to the Cat Williams
Yeah.
comedy show,
So did I.
and I found I noticed that what used to take place, where they used to make fun of people in the audience, that they don't do that anymore, because we don't know the mental side
That's
of
true.
people.
That's right.
We don't really know what's going on in people's mental
We don't.
when we make fun. Like, if we're talking on the job, or we're talking out in public, or wherever we're talking, even a comedian, you can be funny,
Mhm.
but if you make fun of a person because of their color, their gender, their weight, whatever, you don't know the mental of certain
That's
people
right.
and how
Well,
they're going to take it.
they
So
still
you
do it.
have to keep your comments or your jokes clean.
Well, I
Yes.
think.
Yes.
Well,
It's just
you
like
know, I
you
can't
shouldn't
believe
say
that
a
someone.
comedian shouldn't use terminology, and everyday people shouldn't use terminology when they're talking about a person that's looking different. They shouldn't say things like, "Oh, they act like they got bipolar," and you may have 5 or 6 people around you that have been diagnosed with bipolar. That's not a joke to me.
Yes.
That's not
Okay.
even funny.
So I went and saw Country Wayne on this past Saturday. And he cracked on everybody. Everybody that was sitting directly in front of the stage. Well, I'm not gonna say everybody. Several people that were sitting directly in front of the stage. He actually joked on. He made them a part of his show.
Mm.
I'm very accustomed to comedians cracking. Okay, let me say, Isaac goes to a comedy show expecting to be cracked on. It's a comedy show. Um, I expect to hear the funniest stuff. I expect for them to take everyday life and to find the humor of everyday life. I expect for them to push the boundaries. That's what I expect out of comedians because number one, that's all the comedians that I've ever watched. That's what they do. They
Yeah, but
push
the thing
the
about it
boundaries.
is when you talk about pushing boundaries,
Now, I'm not
it's
talking about
offensive.
derogatory. Now
What
that's
I'm saying,
now
what
that's
I'm
different.
saying is though, you don't know that may be what you can handle.
Correct.
For instance, it's not funny when you make fun of handicapped people. You get up there, you people get don't
I'm
I
handicapped.
don't like when you make fun of African American people. I don't like when you use the B word. It's a whole lot of things I feel that it is very, very offensive. I do. Now you may be able to do that. Maybe that's why I don't really go to comedy shows, because I don't think that these people are funny. Because when you
Correct.
start making fun of different types of people get offended. They
Mhm.
do. It's not comical when you start doing that. You can, like, I remember, like, Bill Cosby. The one thing I liked about him was he kept his jokes within the boundaries. Okay. He may have talked about that funny because drunk people are funny when they drunk. I remember when they funny, but nobody's going, a drunk person, if you get offended because somebody made fun of you because you drunk, you silly. But when you start making fun of people who are of color, you start talking about gender, you start talking about old people, you start talking about people's children, you got to be careful, because you now can cross over the boundaries, and some people don't find that funny. I've seen people make fun of people who are they're handicapped. That's not funny.
It's
You know,
not.
there's
Or the
nothing
short
funny about
bus.
making or on the short bus or anything like that. That is not funny. It
Or if
is
they're
not
mentally
funny.
ill and
But they're
Correct.
mentally
do
ill.
certain
We don't
things.
make fun of mentally ill people. So we have to, when you talk about going to comedy shows, I stay away from that, because I don't feel that they're funny. I don't watch a lot of comedy for that reason, because I feel like when you start making fun of certain types of people, is not
Turn
cool.
off.
So when you go back to what we were saying, when you make fun of someone in the LGBT, other people may find it funny, but people who are actually in that life may not think it's funny, and they may
Right.
get offended.
Right.
You
That's
know,
true.
yeah, and so where do we draw the line? Where do we say no? I don't know if we want to do that. Maybe some things need to be censored.
But it's okay for their community to make their own jokes about themselves.
No,
That's just like black people make fun of each other,
Okay,
but then
so
don't let somebody else on
flame.
the outside do it.
So there are several um transgender, gay, and lesbian comedians that actually stood up for Dave Chappelle.
Yes.
That actually stood up for him. And they said Dave Chappelle didn't do anything wrong. They said what he did was told the truth, and the community got mad because he told the truth. And these are people that's in that community that said he did. So it's more people that stood up for Dave from that community than it was that were against him. And what amazes me is that in their unification of what they do not like. I didn't like because this happened, whatever it is. You know what they always come back with? They always come back with a list of demands. So now I did not like that you did this. So now you're gonna do my demands. How is that fair now that
It's not.
because of this one thing that I did, you want to come back with 15 with 15 or 15 to 20 different things that you are demanding to happen. That's actually already happening. It's already been done. Because you of being a transgender person, you work for the company.
Hmm.
You are one of the the creating editors inside the company, but now you got an issue. I didn't get it. So okay.
I like that comment.
So
You
the
cannot
roller
be
said you cannot be flamboyant, then want the quiet wolf when others speak out. And this is
said.
true.
That is so
And
true.
and,
So
and the
true.
thing about it is people do have a right. Don't get me wrong. They have a right to, everybody has a right to their opinion. They do. Everybody has, I feel that
Mhm.
people who are flamboyant, I don't, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, you're doing the most. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
when you do the most,
Thank you.
people are going to say something. I don't
Yeah,
care who you
exactly.
are. If you dress up like a clown, you are going to, people going to talk about you. If you a man and you got on a sparkling, shiny, pink flamingo suit and you got a wig on,
You
this
draw
woman,
attention. You draw
somebody is
What
attention.
was the
going to say
sportcaster?
something. That
Hey,
means you wanted
what was
attention.
it?
Now
What,
you're absolutely right. I'm talking about as a overall. I'm not talking about the flamboyant, because you got some people that's flamboyant. They doing the
oh
same
my
thing
God.
with the
Even
women.
worse,
You
yes.
they're gonna talk about you. You cut all your hair off and you walk around, you got your pants sagging and you're looking like a dude, they're gonna talk about you. You want to be talked about. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the community as a whole.
Yeah.
You when you start just talking about gay people, they're not the flamboyant people, because those people are a little special. Just like heterosexuals, when they go over the top, if
Yeah.
you punk rocker and you got pink, blue, purple, all different color hair, and your nails is on, your eyelashes is a bang, we're gonna talk about you. We're gonna step back and we're gonna go, girl, do you see
Because you're drawing attention. You're drawing
but that
attention.
means you
Yeah.
want to draw attention.
Hey,
I'm not
you ain't gotta
talking
do that
about
now,
that.
because I talk about you just for being heterosexual with those lashes that come out at you like this.
Thank you.
I'm talking about you.
Exactly.
The lashes
Exactly.
waving at you from way over here. Yeah, I'm talking about
Yes.
But when you are literally in public and you're doing the most, people are going, they're like, what is going on? That's too much. So we know the difference. And I think that was the difference with Dave Chappelle. He made an overall comment about a community of people, no different than when you talk about a race of people, whether they're Jews, Italians, whatever. You want to talk about the food, yeah. You want to talk about, like the Godfather. You make how they talk. It is what it is. But when you literally come at a group of people and that is their life, that's a little bit different. You got to know when to draw the line. You got to know what to say. You got to censor it. You got to be like, you know what? Maybe that's not a funny joke. Run about some friends.
There are boundaries. You have to
Yeah.
set boundaries.
Especially today, because people do get offended. So I think that we're out of time.
You have some people that are comedians. They're always making jokes about preachers.
Yeah, there you go.
It can
But
be very offensive.
even the church, we have heard, how many jokes have we heard about church? They don't want to be made fun of all the time,
Right.
but we do. We make fun of a lot. So where do we draw the line? Maybe that'll be a different topic. But it is now 7:04. We have gone 4 minutes over. We've been talking about gender dressing and who's who. Any final comments, Dr. Bennett?
No, I just say, listen, people are people, and it is what it is. We don't have the right to, think for people. We just have to love people just like we want to be loved. We want to be loved. We have to love people, even if we don't agree with what they're doing. We don't condone it, but we shouldn't be going around condemning it to the point where we cannot show them enough love where they will maybe want to change. So we have to be a light.
Exactly.
Amen.
Devola said the gay community is no different than any other group. They want to ensure we know they are gay, but they do not want anyone to have an opinion about it. So true.
That's valid.
That is valid. That is valid.
Valid.
Yes. I like that. Offense is no matter where you are. Absolutely.
That's
And we need to keep that in mind. Any final words, Pastor Melanie?
No, just and I think about Jeremiah 31:3. Excuse me. He said, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. That's how we draw people.
Mhm.
It's with loving kindness. We don't like the sin, but we have to love the person
Mhm.
and just love them.
Yeah. Final words, Dr. Isaac.
Hey, I just want to say, hey, be who you are, live your life, and live it to the fullest because you only have one. And regardless of who you are, my job, my commandment is only to love you, not treat you any different. Is to love you and to accept you for who you are. And if I can do that, then hopefully I encourage somebody else to do the same.
I think what I want to say is when we say that we love God, that we who we never seen, and we see our brother every day,
Hmm.
we need to love our brothers, whether no matter who they are, white, black, LGBT. People are people, and a lot of times we beat up on people because they're different. But we need to love. We need to let God's love reign on the just as well as the
Yeah, unjust. That's right.
and that is truth. You know, cut them some slack because God sees everything. He sees what everybody does, and somewhere in there, we don't want Him to do away with us, so we can't do away with people. Well, you have been watching Breaking the Silence, and I am your host, Lady V. You have host Dr. Yvonne Bennett, Pastor Melanie Butler, and Dr. Isaac Davis. We've been talking about gender, dress, and who's who. This has been a great topic. I thank all of our viewers for all of their input. If you have any comments, feel free to comment at any time. Don't forget to share our page. We are now on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. We welcome your comments and any suggestions. But until next week, we want you to always remember you have a voice. Good
Good
night.
Good
night.
night.
Good night.